Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to SWAT MMA, where we're smoking weed and we're talking mixed martial arts. This is episode number 125. I'm Jarrod, here with Paul.
What up?
Coming to you from the fight capital of the world. Today, we're going to be smoking and talking all about the results of the outstanding BKFC Knucklemania 2. Plus, we'll touch on the Hill versus Walker UFC card. And we're going to talk a bit about the current state of the UFC and mixed martial arts. Before we dive into the combat sports, though, you know what time it is. Grab your weed, fire it up, and let's get into the weed of the week.
Smoke weed every day.
This week we got two different strains. Paul, you are smoking on some Mob Boss at the moment, which is Chem Dog crossed with Pootie Tang. Or no, wait, I'm wrong. It's Chem Dog crossed with Tang Tang. Sorry, Pootie Tang is one of the parents of Tang Tang. Peace. Got it all mixed up there. Tropaya Pie is Tropaya crossed with an unknown strain. Tropaya is Tropicana Cookies crossed with papaya. We got some very fruity on one side and kind of some chemically harsh on the other side. I like the Chem Dog Diesel type of weeds. You don't so much, so... See, I'm making you happy with the Tropaya Pie, hopefully.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. It's all looking out for you.
Always.
And dude, I had some concentrate for us, but then I went and I lost the PAX 3.
Well, that's why you're fired. This is your last show. Pack it up.
That sucks, man. I'm out of PAX 3 and a podcast. No, I've been looking all over for like a week. I'm kind of bummed because those aren't cheap. That's just like $250, man. Like plus shipping.
Yeah.
So
I feel like a lot of people now are starting to go towards like those kind of like vaporizers that route for things.
Dude, they're really handy. Like even if they break, like that thing's got a 15-year replacement warranty, I believe. I just have to register it. And I mean, it's super handy. But the downside of it being super handy and portable is that it's fucking easy to lose.
It's losable.
Like, I know it's somewhere. I didn't lose it in public. I know that much. But somewhere between my house and my fucking Jeep, it's nowhere.
Yeah.
I was bummed.
Should
I lost my Genius pipe too.
Oh, damn.
You know what I think it did, though? I had it in my ride. I was bringing it with me somewhere. And that thing's magnetic.
Oh.
And it fell somewhere in my car and then stuck to whatever fucking metal.
Probably like under your seat. Stuck.
I've looked.
Oh, really?
I think it went somewhere else and just clipped on. I've torn it up and down, man.
Just walking through a metal fucking
But that thing
hallway.
ain't cheap either. That's like $100 fucking pipe.
Really?
So now I'm down about $375 with taxes on my smoking devices in the past like 3 weeks.
Ouch. That hurts.
I'm not too pleased.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to hit this pipe right here. We'll load us up a fresh bowl after that. And let's talk about some sports, sir.
Yeah. So, kind of what was made out to be like a slower weekend in combat sports, but I think it delivered pretty well.
I guess it's slow if you're a fan of the UFC. But look, there's a lot to unpack here, Paul. We had an event that I want to talk about, but then that event just got me thinking about so many things that have to do with the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and frankly, why I didn't watch it this weekend.
Yeah,
and the whole state of everything in general, which is a subject we touch on from time to time, but it just keeps getting worse. So let's start with the fights themselves. Let's start with the UFC fights, because you know what? There's not a lot to talk about there.
Yeah.
So why don't we just talk about the main event, which saw an amazing knockout. I didn't watch it. Why don't you tell the people?
Yeah, so we had Jamal Hill taking on Johnny Walker. Two guys who are, like, this wasn't necessarily a fight with any title implications, but both these guys are, like, kind of on the fringe of being the next contender, like, in that division.
In the 205-pound division,
yeah.
Yes.
So
indeed.
Jamal Hill come in, taking on Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker, who's had, kind of some mixed results, as well as Hill.
Well, he moved down to SBG down in Ireland to fix up his problems, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be fixing them, though.
The famous Kavanaugh and McGregor.
Mm-hmm. And he ends up getting fucking flatlined pretty much.
First round?
First round.
I saw the highlights. His
Yeah.
body did a weird wave when he got
yeah. His
hit.
body's fucking awkward as fuck. He always doing weird shit like that. I don't
Like
get
he
it.
got hit and it looked like he did like he was break dancing
Yeah.
in some weird way as he was falling backwards vertically.
You look like
or
Luigi
horizontally,
from
whatever.
Smash Bros. After he just won.
Dude, this is a bad look, man.
Yeah, it was rough.
Johnny Walker was
Bounces
a
off the
hot
cage.
prospect.
Oh yeah.
Not so much.
Well, that's the thing though. Hill's kind of one of those guys as well that has been a pretty freaking hot prospect. You know, he's had some ups and downs as well, but like the knockout power between both these men were undeniable coming in. Like you knew it was going to be one of those fights where it's you or me. You know what I mean? Where it comes to knockouts, and I think it just pretty much delivered everything it was. It was supposed to between those two guys.
You still a believer in the Johnny Walker project here?
I don't necessarily know, because I feel like this light heavyweight division is in such a weird flux right now that like there's still the opportunity for like everyone to be champion because there's really no dominance at the top. You have Glover who's a champion now, who's more or less fighting on borrowed time when you're talking about like as far as how long or how many times he's going to defend the belt.
Much
no one
respect
really knows.
to Teixeira.
Oh, without
but he's
a doubt.
42 years old.
Yeah.
Like, he's well past his prime.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he holds on to it as long as he can, but he's got his hands full with Yuri coming up.
Yeah.
But outside of that, yeah, it's in a weird spot.
Yeah, there's just kind of so much opportunity for movement. So
you could use some fresh blood that's not interested in Jon Jones.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, that's why I don't necessarily know if the Johnny Walker thing is like necessarily over, but it definitely took a serious hit.
Yeah, and he was trying to fix his problems. What, was it Thiago Santos KO'd him, right?
Nah, that was the one that they actually went to decision.
That one went to decision.
Yeah. But that was like the first time we'd ever seen him fight like in a way that wasn't, psychotic. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I don't know about SPG Ireland, man.
Yeah, they've had some rough.
Their results are
rough results
not
as
well
of late.
lately.
Yeah.
Connors look like shit. I mean, what the hell happened to Gunnar Nelson? I was such a believer in Gunnar Nelson, and then
he's just making a return, I think, soon.
He fucking fell off. I mean, the last real big thing I remember from Gunnar Nelson is him, not exaggerating, taking about 4 eye pokes, I think, from Ponzinibbio, Santiago.
I think he's lost like 3 of his last 4 too, because then he lost that one, and then he lost to Leon Edwards, and Leon Edwards completely dominated.
Yeah, it wasn't competitive. Ridiculous. And that was a dude that he had a lot of heat behind him at one point as well. I mean, he was considered a prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't know where the blame lies, but sometimes you just got to look at a camp and be like, your results are starting to speak for themselves here.
Yeah. When
the only bright spot you've had is Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
And he's looking like shit lately. I mean, who else have they had out there that's been successful?
Yeah, well, then even if you look over to the other side of things, like they've had even their guys that they've had in Bellator, same situation. You had James Gallagher. He's lost 2 of his last 3 now, and fucking then you had
he couldn't even make it out of Bellator.
Yeah, and then also you got your boy who just fought for the featherweight title, Calvillo. He just got knocked out too. So it's like, and then also on top of that, then you have your other. All these people that are from SPG that have had these big fights as of late have come up short.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder.
Yeah.
The rest of the UFC card, I don't know anything about. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I made a conscious decision not to watch it.
I do want to talk a little bit about, though, is Jim Miller, man. Jim Miller coming in, ends up with his 4th career UFC fight. Not his 40th fight ever, his 40th UFC fight. Crazy. Ties a record with Donald Cerrone for most wins in UFC history as well. Just fucking.
So it's 23 or something like
that? Something like that, yeah. It might be like 27.
That's amazing. He's a dog, man.
Dude, talk about a guy. He's also fighting Lyme disease also right now.
Yeah, he's had that a hot minute.
Yeah, so it's just crazy
to see. With his camp and other things. Yeah. Dude, that shit's pretty crazy, man. Just get bit by a tick and then you're fucked up the rest of your life.
Fucked up.
The hell, man.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too that is cool about Jim Miller is he talked to they're talking about before he went to the octagon that he wants to be the first guy to ever fight on UFC 100, UFC 200, and then in 2024 is UFC 300. So he wants to fight on all three of them.
Well, he could realistically do that.
I mean, let's say he takes one fight a year. He's there.
It's not like there's a huge demand for his fights. No,
Yeah.
no disrespect intended.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he could fight once or twice more and stretch it out that far. Yeah, that lighter's dead. I'm gonna toss it down there.
Well, and it was a real like vet performance by him too. So like in the first round, it was pretty competitive, and he was kind of just staying on the outside, hitting him with the leg kicks, keeping himself in the fight. And then I think it was about a minute left in the first round. He gets freaking just completely just clocked. I've never seen someone get hit that hard. Just stay there. It was nuts. Even freaking Paul Felder on the desk. He goes, yeah, Jim Miller's really made of rocks, and we just found out. Like, because he just gets like just cold cocked right to the chin, completely like, and all he did is just wobble his feet a little bit. Survives the end of the round, comes out the second round. So what he did was he started with the leg kicks, which his opponent had a pretty high guard up when he was on his feet. So just got him to drop his hands and then hits him with a freaking
use the leg kicks to drop the hands and hit him with
hits him with a huge overhand, knocks him out. And I was like,
he KO'd him cold.
Yeah, nah, it was a TKO, but he was pretty bad. Yeah, he was pretty concussed. But it's just great to see like those kind of performances from a guy so late in his career still being able to, because the guy he fought I think was only about 28 years old. So it's like this guy in his prime versus a guy who's supposedly on his way out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, Jim Miller was. I didn't watch UFC for a long time just because I was bitter about my boxing, and I didn't like watching any combat sports. It just made me think of fucking mistakes I made boxing, and so when I finally got back into it, though, Jim Miller, Jesus Christ, he might have been on the first UFC I watched coming back into it. Then
he's got some, he's got some wins
this is
over
back
his career.
like
You'd be
Brock
surprised
was
by
fighting
it
for
too.
the title.
Oh yeah,
he was fighting then. Jim Miller's amazing. That'd be cool if he did that. I'm glad he won.
Yeah, me too.
That's good. I hate it when these guys are hanging on. 8 losses in a row type of shit.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I do like about Jim Miller's career is like, there's been times where you maybe could have been pointed to where it's like, he took 3 or 4 losses here, but then he'll rattle off like 4 in a row, 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And like, it gets you back in it and like, oh wow, he's still in this thing.
Right. It shows you he's still relevant.
Yeah.
And capable of competing at the level.
Kind of like how Clay Guida's always been, like I feel like their careers like very much mirror each other. Not in necessarily like styles or anything like that. I just mean like longevity.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. Also over the weekend, we had some boxing go down across the pond. We had Kell Brook just pretty much dominate Amir Khan.
Yeah, I wanted to watch that fight too. I ate a whole bunch of I made some edibles.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I ate them up way more than I usually do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, yep, fight time. And then I was waking up like 4 hours later.
Well,
missed the whole card.
You know what it was is, just for people who don't know, Amir Khan started as like, I think it was a 134 or something like that. It's much smaller, but Kell Brook was at middleweight at one point in his career and has come down. So it's like the difference in like body style was so much different to me because Kell Brook looked like cut down, like to the optimal weight that he could cut to. Yeah. Whereas like Khan looked like that's just kind of like what his training weight is. Like I know he's like fought welterweight for a while, but you know what I'm saying. Like there's a different in like just like their body composition.
Despite the same weight.
Yeah, like it was just a difference in like their bodies completely. Like Brook looked freaking cut up, whereas like Amir Khan just kind of looked like he took it seriously without a doubt. I'm just saying I think the overall size difference and his power was just the whole difference in the fight because like don't get me wrong, Amir Khan's going to do what he does. He's got a fast jab, he's got fast hands, and he was game for the time that he was in the fight, but I'd say about halfway through the first round, he hits him with a big right hand that literally like wobbled his legs. And from that point on, there was not a time where he hit him with a clean shot and Khan was not on wobbly legs. Every single time he hit him with a clean shot, it looked like he was going to put him down. And to his credit, he never necessarily knocked him down, but the ref called it off because it was just I think it was in the 5th round, and it was just there was just no path to victory for Amir Khan in there, and ultimately, Kilbrook gets a stoppage, and the comeuppance on their little rivalry that they've had over the last 4 years. And another thing for people who didn't know, this fight was like a long time coming.
Oh yeah, very
two
long
guys
time
who have
brewing.
been on the like pretty much premier, spotlight of the UK boxing scene for a while, and I think this fight had been canceled about 4 times, 5
it's
times,
gone
or
through
like
a
broken
lot to
down.
get here.
Like yeah,
I was looking forward to watching it. I was bummed I didn't, but I'm the results are good.
well, and that's the thing.
I'm not
is,
against
like,
Khan or anything, but
yeah,
I'm happy with those results. I
and
like a decisive win.
yeah. Well, and then if you look at it too, like going in, both guys' last losses were both to Crawford, and so it's like there was just so much tension built up there that I feel like after the fight, they were pretty respectful and all that. So I thought that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, that's good. You like to see that. I'm never happy when fighters kind of carry it on.
Yeah, it's too much.
Like we'll touch on it later, but Mike Perry seemed pretty intent on kind of carrying a feud on with Lane.
Both of them,
their
it was kind of weird. I didn't like it.
Yeah, he was sitting there like, you shouldn't have done that and this and that.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you just fought like 5 rounds. Like,
Yeah.
you should be able to
It's
hug a
over.
motherfucker and be
Yeah.
like, we're cool, dude.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
So yeah, that about wraps the boxing up for the weekend as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
although you
let's get
think,
into it.
as we're recording this, there's some controversy with Tyson Fury and Dylan White. With that fight possibly not going down. Now, by the time we release this episode, there might be an answer to this question. But as we record, White is on a deadline to accept his contract by midnight. Correct?
Yes, it's midnight of today, or the fight's off.
What is this dude fucking around for?
Yeah, I don't get it. We're talking about it was a $40-something million bid,
and that's
so
their
that's
base pay.
32.
My understanding, and I
Yeah.
have looked into it as much as I can, is that they're guaranteed that everybody's talking about the 30 and the 8. That's base. There's still more to be earned on top of that based on pay-per-views and other things worked into fucking contracts, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even like that's capped at him at the 8 mil.
That's just base pay.
And that's my understanding based on the available. And like, I haven't seen the motherfucking contracts, but there's a lot of talk about this, and I've looked into it as much as I can, and that seems to be where we're at here.
Yeah.
So what is he doing, Paul?
Yeah. Well, not only that, it's a shot at the title where you could be in a long line of names if you're not fighting for the title now.
Yeah, man, you bypass this, and there is plenty of other action going on. There's fucking Usyk. There's other people.
Ruiz. I heard Wilder Ruiz is going to go down, so like that's around the corner.
There's Joshua should he win.
Yeah.
There's Ngannou in the UFC sitting in the back pocket of Tyson Fury that is a possibility and a reality of going down. People might not be thinking about it now, but dude, boxing is weird, and if fights don't get made, the WBC has already said that fight's cool with them.
Yeah.
So you never know the twists and turns of boxing. You might see that happen. So yeah, Dylan White needs to quit fucking around,
or he's just gonna get left behind. That's really the reality of it.
This ain't like a slow moving division where they don't have anything going on. Like, there's people who don't even want this fight to happen.
Yeah,
for fuck's sake.
A lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people would rather just see Tyson Fury sit out until the winner of Usyk and Joshua was ready.
Right. So we'll see. But man, these fucking last minute shenanigans. I hate to see it. All right, man. Well, look, there was a big bare knuckle event this weekend, and it was their Knucklemania 2 event for the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, which was headlined by their lightweight title defense, and also saw the debut of several pretty famous UFC fighters. And let's talk about that And let's talk about the contrast between that event and the current state of the UFC, because I think that's why I didn't watch the UFC. They went head to head basically, and I had zero interest in the UFC card.
Well, I think to really get like the full story of it, I kind of want to go over like what happened in the fights first, just to like give the full story, because I do think what happened in the fights also does do a lot for the BKFC as well.
Absolutely, it
You
was
know
a
what I
big
mean?
night
Like,
for them. These were
yeah,
exciting fights.
because not only did they have those big signings, the big signings they brought in delivered. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like the first Knucklemania event, like it was good. There was big names on it, but there was kind of that little letdown because they brought Paige VanZant in and put her on the big stage, and she
shit
kind
the
of
bed,
faltered.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whereas like in this case, you had guys like Chad Mendes on there, Mike Perry, and even Louis Palomino, who's another guy coming from the MMA world. Those guys, they brought those guys in to put this sport on, based on them having other large fan bases that they're able to cross over with.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And them all winning is a big point in the BKFC's favor, at least.
Yeah, it was a successful, exciting night of fights for them, and I don't think they flubbed it on any level.
Yeah, not at all.
Well, let's talk about the results, and then let's talk about why I think the BKFC is kicking the UFC's ass, and why that's a good thing, frankly.
Someone's got it.
But look, there was some excellent fights top to bottom. Now, a lot of these names people might not be familiar with, but one fight I do want to talk about is Yuli Diaz fought Sawyer DP to open up the main card. Now, Yuli Diaz is an interesting character because he holds the fastest knockout in all of combat sports.
Yeah.
He has
like 5 seconds.
Second,
2,
or maybe it's 3 and it's supposed to be 2. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, because like they literally towed the line and hit him one time and it was boop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. So Ulysses is his full name, but he calls him Yuli. And he has this, he wins by knockout in round 2 of just an amazing back and forth fight. It looked like he was going to get slept. Like he took some blows, he got knocked down. He gets up in the first round and he actually drops Sawyer DP with a shot to the heart, bro.
Damn.
Like he was coming upwards and punched him square in the heart, and dude went flying down to the canvas, dog. I was like, God damn, you're gonna make his heart skip a beat, dude. But he ultimately gets the fight, he gets the win, and it was that dude's someone interesting to watch. Like, I wanted to do some research before we did the show because I'm not sure how old he is, because I thought he was like a young man based on the last fight I saw him in.
Yeah.
And then he came out in this fight and he didn't shave, and this dude is a fucking gray beard like a motherfucker. He looked like he was 55, bro. He looked old as shit. I was like, dude, are you like seriously? Like I figured he's got to be like 43.
Is he only like 31? Something like that?
I don't even know. I meant to look it up. It tripped me out. I couldn't believe how old he was. I was like, what the hell? Maybe he's just premature gray. But if you're new to BKFC, Yuli Diaz, if you see that name on the card, that is someone to pay attention to. This guy's very exciting, and he's got a lot of power and a good chin behind him too. Now, there was a couple title bouts on here that I kind of want to dive into.
Yeah.
The first one being, we saw Britton Hart, who's now Britton Beltran to be technical. Although in the broadcast they did keep calling her Hart. I think it's just because nobody knows who the fuck Britton Beltran is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She's built her name off of her original.
She fought Christina Faria, who's a local Vegas fighter. And there was a lot of hype behind this fight. They had fought before, a year or two ago, and Hart had lost, but she felt was a disputed decision. And boy, if you look at these scores, I mean, Faria ultimately wins it 49-46, which doesn't sound close, but that's a hell of a lot closer than I had it. I can't even explain that fight. I think the punch stats are off. I've never seen a fighter, and I don't mean any disrespect to Britton Hart, but dude, I've never seen anybody throw more punches and miss.
Yeah, she has a very weird style of like getting in. She don't even
Dude,
know
there's
what to like call it. She like plots out her jab like so far away, and then she just takes a step in, step in, step in every time she throws one. And so she'll throw about 5 or 6 jabs just trying to plot her way into the pocket. Like it's really
dude,
weird.
I don't mean disrespect to her. I respect her as a
No, yeah,
fighter. She does a lot.
yeah.
But I'm going to tell you exactly what it reminded me of. Like, it's like a rookie amateur boxer. I did that, Paul. Like, in my very first, I distinctly remember my first 2 fights.
Mhm.
It's almost like a nervous reaction. You just fire a jab way out of fucking range.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know where you're at. You're trying to gauge range, and you don't have experience enough in a real match, not some gym sparring, to know where the range is. We're talking first amateur fight here.
Yeah.
And you're just firing that motherfucker when you're nowhere near the person.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
She's doing that and combos.
Yeah.
But you look at the punch stats, and they said she landed like 40, 50%.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I question that completely.
Yeah. I don't really know what else to say about that. Like
I mean,
honestly,
she was
that's
she was
like,
beat the fuck up by
yeah.
round 2. She had 2 black eyes by the end of round 2. And I have notes on the fight. And one thing I have in every single round, missing like crazy, missing all over the place, swinging wild, huge misses, won't stop missing, firing out of range, face fucked up. I don't know what it was, like, because she's not a rookie fighter like
No,
that.
yeah, she's
And this is
experienced.
something that
She's done it in other fights though. It happened in the Paige fight. It happened in the freaking in the her last one as well. And it's just some weird habit she has of just like she like just throws the jab and walks towards you until the jab starts landing. I guess it's weird.
it's not a good strategy.
No, it's not. No.
And I don't know if that's something that she's reverting to during the fight. That's not something she does in training, because I just can't imagine any trainer thinking
Telling
that
you
that
that's
is a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, just because I used to be a boxer, I'm not claiming to be some sort of expert, but I mean, it doesn't take much more than common sense to know that you don't want to keep firing whiffed fucking shots all the time. You're gonna gas yourself.
Yeah. Naturally,
I mean,
you're just gonna punch yourself out.
right? Like you're expelling energy in an inefficient manner at best.
Yeah.
So I was just really surprised by that, because um, I just expected a little bit more technicality at this point, because Faria looked great. She's tough. That woman is tough, bro. She didn't even get marked up till the 5th round.
Yeah. She was
Man.
taking it to her the whole time.
You know, in the 5th round, Britain finally like clenched up and started landing some shots.
I feel like that's always been her best spot of her fights, though, is in the clinch. I don't understand why she doesn't use that more.
She's busy throwing jabs from 6 feet away.
You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like in the Paige fight, that was a real big difference in that fight, was what she was able to do in the clinch and like her dirty boxing. So I don't really understand why she even tries that stay on the outside, like pick them apart kind of thing, when that's just not her game, in my opinion. I feel like she's more of a knockdown, drag it out, like drag someone into deep water, but you can do that without, throwing 100 punches.
Well, Christina Faria was certainly down to engage in the clinch multiple times, especially in the 4th round. Like, she landed some huge
shots.
and maybe that's what it was. Maybe Britain got in there and was like, "Oh shit,"
Yeah,
because that girl looks solid. But she's gonna make a great champ. I think she's got a real nice 1-2 on entry, pulls right back out. It's a good strategy for bare knuckle. She's tough as nails. She's got good movement without moving much.
Yeah.
Like, just enough to make a punch miss a little bit.
Yeah.
She was knocking down a lot of Britain's punches that were like far away, and maybe the punch stats are counting those as landed punches because it hit her hand. I don't know, but all in all,
if it is,
it was an excellent performance from Christina Faria, who's now the 125-pound champ, the new flyweight champion in BKFC, and they've created an inaugural Police Gazette title for that weight class as well. Because, some of you listening, if you happen to watch Knucklemania and you notice that these champions have 2 belts, that's because the Police Gazette decides to recognize BKFC as their champion as well. And the Police Gazette belts have a dating history back like over 100 years in bare knuckle. But obviously they've never had a woman's belt before. So I thought that's cool that they created an inaugural one For there, maybe not surprising if you think about it. Why wouldn't they? But
Yeah.
it's cool to see
Still
that
cool, though.
happen. Yeah, for such a storied belt. It's like one of the oldest belts in combat sports.
Yeah.
Now, after that fight, what about Chad Mendes making his fucking debut at lightweight against Fames, they call him.
Yeah.
Joshua Alvarez. He's a singer of some sort. I think
Like a rapper.
he's like a YouTube kind of singer rapper dude. I'm not positive.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about that, but I do know that he is actually a fairly legit fighter. Like,
Yeah,
he's not a world champion.
In bare knuckle going into this.
And he knows what he's like. He's got good movement. He's actually fairly legit. But you know, the first round opened up, and I thought Fames did pretty good. I thought he had some legit movement. Chad seemed just like a lot of big swings and misses.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually gave the first round to Fames on my judging personally, but we didn't wind up going to scorecards. Winds up being a fourth round KO for Chad Mendes, who really, after that point in the second round and on, just took it over.
Yeah, there was this. He was just like a freaking Terminator out there, dude. He was just trying to walk him down and throw. He was throwing everything into like all his shots, dude.
He did some controversial things in that round. Like he opened up round 2 and he charged at him, and it really looked like he landed an elbow. Like,
yeah,
it was. I mean,
he was doing. Yeah, it's that's tough. It's like same thing. Like remember in the first fight with Britain Hart and freaking Paige, she threw a knee at her like naturally in the clinch, and she was like, "Oh shit!"
Well,
like,
another thing Chad kept doing is trying to grab Fame's hands, like you can do in mixed martial arts. You can't do that, and the ref had to keep telling him. But I thought it was good the ref didn't penalize him because I don't think it affected the fight in any negative way.
Yeah, it was just like a nagging.
And you know, if you know who Chad Mendes is, you know that's
something he's always done.
Dude, he's trying to stop something he literally does all the time. It's going to be a minute. It was cool they gave him some leeway with that.
Yeah.
He's got to get it under control if he keeps fighting here, though.
Quick question, Jarrod. What the fuck is Chad Mendes on, bro?
Dude, he looked like the Hulk, didn't he?
Holy shit. He looked ridiculously yoked. Like
he was fucking
humongous.
Dude, his back, his fucking traps coming off his shoulders, dog.
I was like, oh my god, dude, this fool's fucking yoked.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Wow.
He was the tank in there, man.
What did he cut down from, dude? Like 65 or some shit?
Dude.
He must have.
I hate to be like that, but like that was a big part of the end of his UFC career was, that.
In his defense, it came supposedly from eczema cream. Wink, wink. I don't know.
Got rid of the eczema and replaced it with muscles.
That was like that dude ate Chad Mendes for dinner and fucking absorbed his essence. It was the new Hulkified Chad. Like, wow.
But real big win for him there.
Dude, he had great 1-2s coming in. Like, once he got settled in after that first round, bro.
Oh, yeah.
He was coming in with a nice 1-2 combos, big lunging right hands, and then backing right back out.
So 55 doesn't have a champion, right? Or is Palomino the champion?
That's Palomino.
What's the weight class that doesn't have a champion? 65?
Yeah, that's the one that Connor Tierney's fighting in.
Okay. 65.
As far as I know. Because 75 is Alvarez. It's Thiago, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty
and
sure.
then 2 or 174, whatever the fuck it is Hector Lombard. So yeah, I think so.
Well, Lombard lost, didn't he, to that dude?
Did he?
Arnold Adams.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Adams will beat him.
Oh, it's the problem with these emerging things is they have a lot of belts still running around. Like I thought Beck Rawlings was the champ at 125. I'm confused.
Yeah, but now
it's a new organization. They don't have champs in all their divisions yet, so
makes sense.
Still sorting some of that shit.
But Mendes, he's pretty. I don't see anybody else really in line for a title shot other than him at this point.
Yeah, he looked fucking. There was no real problem with him adapting to the new style. He looked spectacular, and that with that size and power, he's got to be strong as hell. He dropped Fames multiple times. The first time I thought they could have called the fight. Honestly, after the first time, he hit him so flush, and the way he fell, he was just like I was surprised he got up. It was mainly because there was 20 seconds left. Yeah. Like that was the downside of both the round 2 and the round 3 KOs. They both actually happened with 20, 21 seconds left in the fight. So Fames only had to make it a minute, a few seconds longer. But then when he came out with that, I mean, he came out in round 4, and he fired a massive left, some big uppercuts, and then they clinched up, and Fames tried to fucking throw some shots from the clinch and just got dropped, son.
Well, it was crazy too because during the finish, you could tell Mendes almost followed it to the ground, like like he hit him as he was falling. It was like he was like, oh, never mind. What am I doing?
That was exciting. I was pretty happy with Chad's performance. Now,
Wait,
I think he might.
1 second though. Yeah. Something that ties into that Chad Mendes fight that I did want to bring up real quick. Isn't it kind of strange how Chad Mendes has 3 fights on his UFC contract still?
Oh yeah,
and the UFC allows him to go box, but yet people like Francis Ngannou and George St. Pierre aren't allowed to go into the boxing realm?
It's because it's not quite boxing. It's BKFC.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I agree. I didn't even know. I thought Chad Mendes fulfilled his contract and was done.
No, he still has 3 fights.
And then you told me that yesterday about the 3 fights left, and this was all a thing that UFC actually let him do. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They wouldn't let George St. Pierre fight
fucking Oscar De La Hoya for who gives a fuck what at age 45. Like, come on. Yeah, I just don't get it.
You can put that into a pin with my gripes I'm about to unlay after this about the UFC. I mean, it's just another thing to add to the list.
Or like the Francis thing too. Like the Francis thing will make the UFC money and make him money, and they don't want to do that either. But they got people like Chad Mendes who they're not letting go of. They're keeping him on they're keeping him on the bench, but they're also allowing them to do the same thing they're not allowing other fighters to do. The same as like Conor too.
Well, let's put a pin in that. Circle back to the next fight because it still has something to do with the UFC. We saw Mike Perry take on Julian Lane,
couple of UFC vets.
Ultimate Fighter fame. For those of you that like your Ultimate Fighter history, he's the "Let Me Bang, Bro" guy. Yeah. And kudos to him; he's embraced that shit.
Yeah.
It was a mocking meme, and now it's on his shorts. He's that guy. It's his fucking. It's his nickname, dude.
Yeah.
Julian, let me bang.
That's what bang, bro.
You gotta own it, man.
Yeah.
And for those of you maybe new to bare knuckle fighting, don't be fooled. Julian Lane is legit. That dude, in my opinion, is a top tier bare knuckle fighter right now.
Absolutely.
Like he happens to have a 4-6 record, I do believe right now. Don't be fooled.
Yeah, but
Dude's very good.
It's a strength of schedule thing. You know what I mean? Like
strength of schedule in a new evolving sport.
Yeah,
where like everybody has a learning curve and loses a bit.
He's fought some real big names and some real good guys, and he has losses, but he's never not competitive.
If he was fighting newbies, people not like
he wouldn't be here.
No, he'd be sleeping motherfuckers. Yeah. And he gave Mike Perry all he could handle.
Yep.
I mean, shit, that was a great fight. Dude. I really, really enjoyed that shit.
I love Mike Perry, dude. Mike Perry's
great.
Savage. He's such a savage. He's one of my favorite to watch in combat sports. Like he just doesn't give a fuck.
I think this is his wheelhouse, bro.
It is, but yeah.
I mean, he gets the unanimous decision, 48-46 times 3. Yeah. And I thought that fight was really enjoyable. Mm-hmm. The only thing I didn't like was what happened immediately after the fight. And that's just a personal thing for me. The sporting aspect. I like to see guys squish the beef. Perry kept it going for whatever, or so it appeared. I mean, I don't know, but it's not a big deal.
I don't necessarily dislike it that much because there's a world I could see where this fight happens again.
It wasn't egregious or anything. He was just like, you did shit you shouldn't have done. Fuck you. Whatever. I don't care.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like in the end, this is a fight that could ultimately happen again, and I don't think anybody would be upset about it.
Dude, those are entertaining guys. They're good on the mic. Yeah. They come to fight.
There's a couple little wacky pre-fight build-up shit. Like
they're corny.
Yeah, like the whole bringing a bat to the press conference. Like, what the fuck was that?
That was stupid.
That was weird. And then also the planned attack of Julian Lane when he attacked Mike Perry when he was on the commentating team. He literally in the video
Yeah.
puts his fucking mouthpiece in, jumps the fucking barricade, and attacks Mike Perry, bro. Like,
Yeah.
what is going on here?
Whatever, it got him the fight because he was scheduled to fight somebody else,
Yeah.
and they were just like,
Yeah, we'll go ahead and skip that.
we'll give you the fucking co-headlining spot above a title fight
Yeah.
on fucking
Biggest pay-per-view of the year.
BKFC. Yeah, I mean, this is their big dog.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great for both guys. A
Mhm.
huge win for BKFC to have someone like Perry come in and just do great against a legit guy who also, I don't think Julian Lane takes any
Yeah, there was
loss
no
of
real
shine
big
here.
yeah.
I'm definitely want to see whoever he's fighting next. I'll be like, word, Julian Lane.
And he brought it to Mike Perry too. Like there was like Perry ultimately I thought kind of controlled the like the fight overall, like round to round, but there was never a time that Julian Lane was out of that fight.
Well, I'll tell you, the way that I had it scored was honestly, I had it 47-46 Perry, and the reason that it went that way is because Perry's round one was a 10-8.
Yeah.
And I found round two very confusing because I thought it was an even round.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really didn't see a winner there. So it's either, I can't remember how they score that there. If it's a 10-10 or a 9-9. I think it's different on divisions, but
Yeah.
or different on commissions. But yeah, I mean, I had Perry winning, but it's mainly because he dropped Lane in that first round with a massive right.
Mm-hmm.
He had big shots in the clinch too, man. That was just a great fight, dude.
Yeah, that was a really good fight. Julian Lane's another one of those dudes. He's fucking yoked.
Yeah,
He's big.
that dude's in shape.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're doing much testing over there that I hear about. And if they're not testing, then so be it.
Give him a test. Count to 10.
Right.
As long as you can count to 10, you can fight.
There's a lot of dudes look pretty jacked over there.
Oh yeah, he's looking pretty fucking ripped. You know, like, holy shit, he's going full Hulk mode. But yeah, so like I was saying before, I do think like Mike Perry and Chad Mendes winning these two fights, I think it just does something for the bare knuckle fighting because the like parallel I could really make with it is kind of when the UFC started. And we had a lot of guys that were like coming from K1 and all these different disciplines, whether it be boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all that stuff. And then like I felt that there would be like a guy that would get thrown in the mix like every few months that would like bring the level of competition up and bring the level of competition up and bring it up and bring it up. And I feel like these are what these guys are doing. Chad Mendes maybe isn't going to be UFC champion anymore. And he doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? He's just bringing those, like I said before, the fans from the UFC and from his UFC fandom over to Bare Knuckle who still like to watch him fight, who still like his personality and what he stands for and all that good stuff. And they're gonna become Bare Knuckle fans, and like that competition is gonna continue to grow the more the sport grows. Because if I'm a guy who is more like a street fighter or whatever the hell you want to call it, and you want to go into bare knuckle, there's an avenue now. You know what I mean? Before there really was no avenue for bare knuckle fighting in the United States, and now I feel like not only bare knuckle BKFC, but like how like Masvidal has like that bare knuckle MMA promotion. I feel like there's just more and more bare knuckle like.
Ken Shamrock's trying to do his thing with the Valor bare knuckle, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend I've checked it out, but I see the fucking thumbnail on my
it's
shit,
just, it's just, it's like the same thing as like UFC, Bellator, World Series, Strike Force, all these companies that have come and gone that, it makes the sport more legitimized. And I feel like the more these kind of guys come in and put on these kind of performances, the more BKFC is going to continue to become legitimized and continue. Because I do think it is kind of in that same infancy as the UFC was before, where it's kind of still like, it's not necessarily taboo because I do think it is pretty mainstream just because nowadays there's social media and everything like that. And I think it's been accepted pretty well. But I just feel like on the notoriety standpoint, they're kind of like where the UFC was in maybe like the 2005 to 2007 range where it's like...
Yeah, there's still a lot of misconceptions around bare knuckle.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that here after we finish up this. Let's finish up this next fight because I think this is something else that really benefited BKFC as a promotion was... Luis Palomino defending his title against Martin Brown, which he wins a very lopsided decision.
Yeah.
It was 49-46 by 2 judges and 50-45. I had it 50-45.
Yeah.
You can see, here's my notes on Brown. Blank in round 1, blank in round 2. I wrote the word nothing in round 3. I wrote good jab in round 4. And I wrote more active finally in round 5. Okay. There was no, he just had nothing.
Never got going. Yeah.
I was really caught off guard by that. But that's also because Palomino is an excellent bare knuckle boxer. This dude's 7-0 in bare knuckle, bro.
Yeah.
He just made his 5th title defense, I believe, 4th or 5th. He's had 4 defenses. That was his 4th defense, 5th overall with the belt. So yeah, that's pretty dominant, and he's completely undefeated in the sport. And he has, and it's not because he's like some huge guy going out and laying waste. Like, it's skill. Like, he has a style that is, he's got the 1-2. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I'm bragging on my own shit, but you can circle back to that video I made after a year ago about Paige VanZant and why I said she's never going to win in BKFC. And part of it is because in BKFC right now, you need to be able to do a 1-2, a 1-1-2, a 1-2-2, and move in and out real quick.
Opponent
some side to side.
Yeah.
And like, that's just where their game is at right now. And then you need to have solid uppercuts in the fucking clinch.
Yeah.
And if you look at my notes here on Palomino, it's good 1-2, excellent 1-1-2. He's tagging it 1-2, 1-2, 1-1-2.
Yeah.
Like, that's his whole thing. He comes in, he tags you with straight punches, he bounces out, he throws straight punches to the body, he pivots over to the side, hits you with a fucking hook to the body, bounces right back the fuck out of range. Like, it's very effective.
Yeah.
He's
got to get what you got and get out of there.
He obviously listens to the podcast. Tuned into my video. Like, no, but you know, I mean, I'm saying what most people with boxing knowledge obviously are fucking saying. So but I'm not trying to sound braggadocious. I'm just saying, like, it's just true. Like, and it'll probably evolve where that's not what's winning fights anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the thing that makes BKFC so fucking cool, is that you can watch this shit evolving in real time. People come in and try strategies out to see how they fucking work. There's been people that are trying to knock fists down right now.
Yeah.
Like literally, like, hammer fist a blow out of the way as it comes in. All kinds of weird shit. But the way I think this benefits BKFC is they have a very established champion in Palomino who they can, even if you haven't heard of him, when they say his stats, he's coming up on his 5th fucking title defense. He's undefeated in 7 fucking BKFC matches and bare knuckle in general. It's impressive. They got some money now.
That's the whole battle sometimes, is building your stars and nourishing talent within your organization.
And now it's in a weight class. It's in the 155-pound division, where that's where most people are. Why do you think the UFC's 155 is so deep?
Yeah.
There's a lot of good fighters that size in the world.
Well, look at just even on the same card. Like, now, him and Chad Mendes are on a collision course at this point.
If they do that next, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Shit. That'll be a sick fight, bro.
I'd be very interested to see how that fight goes.
Yeah.
Because obviously I think of it with an MMA mind, just because I've seen, both these guys fight in the mixed martial arts world. I know Louis fights a lot different now in bare knuckle, but I wouldn't see a path for victory in a Louis Palomino and fucking Chad Mendes MMA bout.
No, in MMA, Chad Mendes would hand Louis Palomino's ass more than likely. But that's the cool thing, is this ain't MMA. That math doesn't work over here anymore. So it's like a whole new world, especially when you have people that, like, clearly Mendes knows how to play this game. And I'm not trying to rag on Paige, but like, Paige had a hard time making the transition. Paige had decent MMA striking, but she didn't switch it up for bare knuckle in the
not only
way
that,
yet.
I do think coming into this, although Chad Mendes has always been a wrestler, a big part of his UFC career that made him so dynamic was his power in his hands. And, now going up to 155 pounds as well, like, I'm sure that shit's still carrying over, as we saw.
And he can focus on that power instead of looking for a takedown.
Exactly.
He can put it all into the fucking hands. Yeah. Do you mind? Where, like, you really can't, and even with the shorter rounds, the 5 2-minute rounds, you can't do all of that. You can't risk going all out.
Yeah.
In MMA like you can in BKFC. So I don't think this night really could have gone any better.
No.
Like there was one fight that, I mean, the visuals weren't that great on, if you ask me, and it sucks because I like the fighter, but it was Christine Vincennes versus Jade Mason Wong. Like, I don't know, dude. The commentators kept calling her Jade. I mean, she is French Canadian, but like her own corner was calling her Jade. Like, because I was like, Jade, have I been saying her name wrong? Because I follow her on Instagram and shit.
Yeah.
I was like, that's weird. But then her own corner is like, Jade, you got to do this. Like, okay, what is this Jade? Anyways, like, dude, she was just getting beat up pretty bad, and then got this cut. Dude, it was sick. Like Christine landed the perfect jab right on her fucking eyebrow, and it does this huge vertical cut right here. You can just see it. And it just bled right into her eye, and it wouldn't fucking stop. And so the doctor had to call it.
Yeah.
But the visuals just weren't good though, because they looked sloppy, and they weren't. They're both good fighters, but like Wong's eye was so bloody all over, she just started kind of flinging wildly, and it kind of had the tough man look to it.
Well, that's the thing though. That's the difference in bare knuckle is like because it is like such a do or die like sport when it comes to like cuts and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a high level to win. Sometimes you just got to have more grit and more determination and power than some of your other opponents, and you can will wins like that. Like that's really the difference in like
just like you can in boxing and sometimes as well in certain circumstances.
Like perfect example is when Otto Wallin and Tyson Fury fought, and Tyson had that huge fucking cut on his head, and all he was doing is sitting there fucking trying to knock him out after, because he had to try to knock him out before the doctor got in and stopped it.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think that's something that obviously happens a little bit more often in bare knuckle, which is why, like you were saying, sometimes it does tend to like have that tough man competition feel. But I do think that's also something that gives it more stakes and gives it more like excitement, that at any moment you could get hit with the wrong shot at the wrong angle and they bust half your head open, and you've got a minute and a half before you get to the corner, and they're going to stop the fight as soon as you get in the corner.
Statistically, and a lot of people are surprised by this, and so far it's holding up, but statistically, bare knuckle fighters have less injuries than both boxers and MMA fighters. And it's due to the lack of gloves actually prevents people from hitting quite as hard. When you have gloves on, you feel like you can hit as hard as you want. When you're not wearing gloves, you tend to notice that you might break your goddamn hand.
Yeah.
And the gloves prevent you from breaking your hand in so many cases, even in MMA with the small 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah.
So the optics can look sometimes barbaric, maybe more in BKFC, because you see the superficial cuts from knuckles on foreheads and things like the one I just described. But I think as the general public starts to realize it's not as barbaric as you first think, just like they did with MMA. We had McCain calling that shit human cockfighting back in the day so famously.
Yeah.
And now it's a part of ESPN. It's owned by a major company. Its champions are recognized across everywhere.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it get that way for BKFC, because here's the problem, and this shifts us into the remainder of what we're going to talk about on the show today, which is the state of the UFC, illustrated in the fact that there was back-to-back events this weekend with bare knuckle and the UFC. Now, the UFC happened to be doing a free event, sort of. You still got to pay to see it.
Yeah, it's ESPN Plus.
Yeah, but this was the bare knuckles marquee event of the year. It's their equivalent of,
International Fight Week.
Yeah, International Fight Week. Their marquee shit is going on. And let's just start with, I found bare knuckle, and this is why I didn't even bother with the UFC, bro. I didn't know any of the people on there, first off. When I looked at the UFC card, we talk about these fights every fucking week. I watch every UFC event every year for the past, decade.
Yeah.
I read UFC news articles every day. And by I guess UFC, I just mean MMA in general, but UFC is the majority of what they talk about on these websites.
Yeah.
Okay. And just like you do. I don't know who any of the fucking people are on these cards.
Yeah.
And UFC doesn't tell me who they are. I'm not that interested in them. And then it's another thing out of the Apex, right? Where there's no fucking crowd.
Yeah.
It's super boring. Two people wearing the same fucking clothes that I just saw the other two people fucking wear. With the same commentators talking about the same fucking nonsense that they talk about every week, and I'm just kind of tired of it.
Well, and you know what I think sucks about that? Like I agree with you, but what sucks is like it's not even the product as far as like the fighters. It all has to do with a lot of the promotion. Has a lot to do with like here's how it used to be. Before it was like if this is a fight night, it used to be you'd have your one or two, sometimes three fight nights a month, and then it would be your pay per view. And the oversaturation thing has gotten to the point where not everyone is just has the ability to fight 3, 4, 5 times a year. So you try to make these other stars from young guys on these ESPN cards, but the problem is you don't promote them going in. You promote them while you're in the fight. They always do that. They're like, they'll talk about the guy's whole story while he's in the fucking fight. So one, you're hearing about it instead of hearing about the fight, and then also you're not bringing any eyes to this guy. You're bringing eyes. No one
You can't possibly hear enough about somebody in the third person while you're watching the same person fight in order to give a shit about the fight you're watching.
It's
never gonna fucking happen.
Not only that, it's like some of these guys do have great, like, touching stories that should be heard without a doubt. But I don't want to hear it while they're fucking hitting in the middle and knocking someone out. I want to hear it before or after the fight.
You're right. That's a big problem.
And that's a big problem. Like, I hate to be like this, but like if I hear someone's fighting for their kid or fighting for their family or something like that, I'm not calling my friend in the middle of the fight and tell him, "Hey, turn on channel 6. Homeboy's fighting for his family."
Yeah.
It's like I'd love to hear
somebody
that.
whose name you've never heard of has an important thing going on in his life that you've never heard of before this very second.
Exactly.
And again,
but if you tell me that 2 weeks before and it's a whole build up into the fight and it's like, oh, this guy's an up and comer, but he's tough. He has a great story, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But you're telling me this Wednesday of the 1st instead of fucking the 19th or whatever the fuck this last weekend was. It's two different stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the problem. My criticisms when I talk shit about the fights and I don't know who these people are. I'm not talking. It's not the fighter's job.
Yeah,
it's not your job to somehow reach me in my fucking life and tell me who you are.
Yeah,
that's not your job at all. And I don't. And the criticism is of the UFC. What are they? They're a fight promoter.
Promotion. Yeah.
And they happen to be owned by a company who manages fucking movie stars. For fuck's sake, you're agents. You know how to promote people. I thought that was going to be the big thing that happened. I was actually kind of like, this would be cool. These guys actually know how to like promote people. So like they're going to turn like UFC fighters into stars, bro. I remember saying that on this show to you.
Yeah.
But no, they don't fucking care. That's what I mean. So my criticisms aren't directed at the fighters when I say I don't know who these people are, so I don't care. It's the UFC. The UFC, well, here's my notes, dude. Under WME, I would venture that the UFC does not care about the sport of mixed martial arts at all in any way. They do not care about their fighters that are under their contract in any way. And they don't care about the fans who watch their product in any way. And if you or anyone has a disagreement with that, please tell me how, because I think I can shoot it down.
Yeah, 100%. And I do think the fan experience is something that I think is becoming more and more and more like completely just, they don't give a fuck about the fans anymore. Like, let's just be honest. Like, because it's not even the cards I'm talking about. I'm just saying, like, the whole Apex. So, first of all, the whole idea of your fight nights is so, your newer fans or people that are in smaller towns that, maybe don't get a pay-per-view here and there every year. They have a smaller arena or, like, you're in, Louisiana, Mississippi, like, all the smaller, like, parts of the United States where they don't necessarily get to watch the UFC all the time.
Right. They get to do what Dana always says you have to do with UFC is see it live.
Yeah.
Remember all that shit for years and years and years. Once you see it live, you'll always be a fan.
Yeah.
So they did these shows. Yeah.
So now, like, I understood in the past year, with the pandemic and things happen. But now we're going into the next year where all of these arenas across the United States are open. And what are we hearing from Dana White? Oh, yeah, we're going to go ahead and extend the max capacity for seating in the Apex. Like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, here's a
no,
newsflash,
that's not
folks.
that's not the plan.
We live in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
No one is getting tickets to the Apex.
Yeah, unless you are
Period.
training,
end.
unless you are full-time training at pretty much at the UFC.
Yeah, or you're a
events.
fucking star.
Yeah, or
you're
you're
an
famous.
A-lister.
Yeah.
You're Dana's buddy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
You got fucking 10 million YouTube subscribers, you'll probably get a seat.
Yeah.
I'm talking about fans, like blue collar, everyday fucking fans, like me and you and other people listening to the show that used to be like, hey, we can go see a fucking UFC event for like $70.
Yeah.
No, that's all gone strictly because UFC makes all of their money simply fulfilling content obligation to ESPN. It all revolves around the ESPN deal. Yeah. They don't have to sell pay-per-views anymore. They don't have to get ratings anymore. Not their fucking job. All they have to do is make sure that they fill events. Yeah. They fill events, they get X amount of dollars. So how do they make more money? Well, they create the fucking Tuesday Night Contender Series where they can funnel fucking 5-0 fighters and 5-2 fighters into the UFC and give them a 12-12 fucking contract to fight on national television on the premier organization in the premier sports television platform there is for $12,000 fucking dollars.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
That's why I fucking hate it. Like, I get why these guys do it. I'm not shitting on the fighters who show up on the Contender Series and go take the deal. What else are you going to do? It's your opportunity in your eyes.
Yeah.
But they're getting fucked, dude. 12-12 contracts. There was one of those on a fucking pay-per-view recently. Like one of those fucking fighters on the main card of a pay-per-view, and his name escapes me because I don't watch that show.
Yeah.
But like that's what I mean. The UFC, the Fertittas cared when they owned it about doing things to advance the sport of MMA, and they also cared about making sure that the things they did to advance the sport made their money and made their bottom line. And it was a good hand-in-hand marriage. For instance, they fought for years to get into New York. That was important for the entire sport of MMA, but also because they wanted to do shows in New York. But you know what? You can only do so many shows in fucking New York. It's not like that's where their base of operations is now. Yeah. It's just one more fucking spot. It was way more important for the sport to have that there.
Yeah.
Like, the Fertittas often took care of fighters behind the scenes in ways that many fighters have expressed that a lot of fans, even hardcore fans, still mistakenly think occur here. Yeah. There's a lot of talk about fans, about pay-per-view points, and I don't think everybody realizes that all that shit's in the toilet with fucking the ESPN deal. Yeah. I promise you, ESPN is not giving fighters guaranteed 500,000 fucking pay-per-view points. No, because that's what they give the UFC. It's 500,000 fucking pay-per-views is what we guarantee.
See, that's the thing. Is like the UFC gets their nut, so they have X amount of dollars already that they're going to get, no matter if it tanks or does $1 billion.
And as long as they have X number of shows in the fight nights, they get more money at the end of the year.
And then here's the thing though. At the same time, you have this endless news cycle of, this week is this fight night, next week's the next fight night, next week's the next fight night, and then we got a pay-per-view, and then the next fight night, and the next fight night, and the next fight night. It's almost like the same business model like the WWE has. Like literally, like it is like literally the same business model. They make
stars though. The WWE, everybody, even I know WWE stars.
But here's the thing: the difference between those two things is before it would be you have your better lower level guys would be the stars of these fight nights. But the whole idea of the fight nights are not getting promoted because you're having them every fucking week. You can't build a story with a guy who fights once, twice a year. That's the difference between you can't build the UFC like you build the WWE. You can follow a similar business model, but the difference between those two things is the WWE, they have one pay-per-view a month, but what they do is on the fucking 4 weeks is they take the two guys who are going to fight on the pay-per-view and they put them in an endless storyline over 4 weeks. And there's no promotion done for anybody who's in the main event of any of these fight nights on a week-to-week basis. That's just not happening in the UFC.
The UFC doesn't promote anybody. We've talked about how Negro Modelo Beer does a better job promoting fighters in the UFC.
Literally. And then freaking also you have like your pay-per-views are like the most promoted thing every month, like pretty much content wise, but like the best you even get out of that promotion wise is fucking embedded, and embedded they only follow around the fucking co-main event and main event slot. And those are the people that are already selling your pay-per-view to begin with. Those aren't the people we want to hear about. I want to hear about the guy who's like maybe the fucking main event of the prelims, or the somewhere on the main card that maybe you can build a fan base around.
Seriously.
Like I get it. The UFC is one of those organizations is kind of you get what you put into it as far as like, fandom, because at the end of the day you have to win fights. So
yeah, but even
the
when
only
you win
problem,
fights and you don't even know who these people are anymore.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say. Yeah, the only problem is like even when they win now, because the lack of promotion, because you didn't know who was gonna win, you're fucked on the back end, because now you have a guy who won and you have to pay more money to and all this shit, and no one gives a fuck about them because they have no idea who they are, and it's not even their own fault. They're doing their job. They're winning the fights. They're getting these main events and getting these main card spots. But the UFC is constantly failing them because they're not promoting them on their side at the same time as them winning all the fights.
Right. Like, people can hate on the Ultimate Fighter all they want to, all the fucking hardcore fans. I know the show gets a lot of hate, but you know what one thing that show did right? Consistently every fucking year is you got to know some fighters, and so you gave a fuck about them. Even if you hated them, you cared about them because you see them every fucking week.
You invested interest.
I still know fighters from the seasons that I watched.
Yeah.
Even if they never amounted to fucking shit.
Yeah.
I can tell you about them. Fucking Court McGee's old ass still out there fucking fighting. I mean, they can't even get their shit together on that. Where BKFC, on the other hand, like, you know what their commentators did? And believe me, I paid close attention during this event. They had two. They talked about the fucking fight. When the fights were occurring, they talked about the fights, and perhaps the color guy or the whoever, I don't know who's who on their fucking shit, but perhaps one guy would talk a little bit about strategy during the fight. And you know what the other guy did? He kept watching the fight and updating the action and explaining a little bit of it to people who just all they see is punches.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to beat the dead dog with this comparison, but if you go back to also when the Fertittas ran the UFC and they had Goldberg and Rogan as the fucking announcers, they did that same thing. Goldberg was, although he didn't know as much about mixed martial arts and all that shit, and he would have, some funny ass shit. Yeah. Doesn't matter. He would literally constantly be following the action inside the cage. And then Joe Rogan would be the one who would fill you in on the techniques, and maybe Joe would have a funny story here and there, but it wouldn't be like the shit they tell now. Like, DC will just like look at a guy, not know how the fuck he fights, and just start talking about some shit he heard about him through, the fighter meetings and shit like that. And it's like,
it's
I just don't even.
I can't take the UFC commentary anymore.
Well, here's the problem.
For fuck's sake.
Is they took a model. The model that they've taken is that whole having a fighter meeting early in the week and you have a talk with them and they tell you about their lives and all that shit. The only problem with that is they took that from the NFL and the NBA and shit like that, where you're talking about a 60-minute game.
Yeah.
You're talking about 2 games that are hour, 2 hour, 3 hours long.
Yeah, it's sometimes. Like a 4-hour broadcast,
exactly.
Dude, of a 60-minute game with plenty of fucking time in between plays and commercial breaks.
All that
where
shit.
They need fucking content.
Where they need shit like that. In the UFC, you just don't really need that.
Oh, they have these
you should be promoting on the outside of the fight, on the all that shit, the build up, everything like that. That's why you even see in boxing. In boxing, there's always been like a countdown show and all that shit. And I feel like all those shows that were so big before for the UFC, like as far as they just bury them on ESPN Plus and all that shit like that. When have you seen a countdown air on ESPN, like the normal network ESPN? Even for the pay-per-views, there's not a single time on the ESPN network I've watched on cable television the UFC countdown for any pay-per-view show up. They're always on YouTube and ESPN Plus. And YouTube, I get it. It has, everybody has a following on YouTube, but those are always going to be your hardcores that are going to watch that YouTube video.
Exactly.
And the UFC is, okay, maybe they give somewhat of a shit about their fans, but they don't give a fuck about
How do they care about their fans?
That's not what I'm saying. Listen, I'm just saying like, the hardcore fan like
Yeah.
he's always gonna watch. But I'm saying they've completely cut away the idea of having any casual fan come and watch because there's no
100%.
information.
There's none. If you don't know what's happening, no, you don't. They don't explain shit.
No.
I mean, they can't even call the punching fucking right, dude.
Yeah.
There's no point in just saying, "Oh, that was a nice right hand."
Yeah.
They call it boxing, and it ain't fucking boxing.
Yeah.
They don't explain what any of the grappling is. They'll say they'll give it the name, like, "Oh, he's attempting a Kimura." Oh, that explains it to fucking Joe Blow, who's tuning into this UFC thing for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, Nancy, he's trying to Kimura.
Yeah.
Like are they that just completely unaware of like how fresh eyes view their product? And then they just figure that the casuals or the hardcores are going to watch no matter what.
Yeah.
That's Dana's attitude.
It is.
That's why he'll tell fans on Twitter, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
He will literally tell fans of his own sport who engage him to go. Could you imagine if Roger Goodell or whoever it is now was on there like, "Go fuck yourself" on fucking Twitter to somebody who was like critical?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, at some point, it's just like, I don't see how they care about their fans because I see them caring about their bottom line.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing marquee matchups. I see prices getting raised. I see, and again, I don't mean this as a slight to the fighter personally, but like this last pay-per-view was $75, and I'm almost positive that one of the very first main card fighters was like 7-1, 5-2, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dog, you're way too raw of an MMA fighter, unless you're a real special case.
Yeah.
To be on a fucking $75, one of 5 fights you get for 75 fucking bucks is some green behind the ears rookie. I mean, no offense.
Yeah.
That's what preliminaries are for, bro.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Meanwhile, Roxanne Modaffari's 50th goddamn fights on the prelims.
Yeah.
My mind is blown. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
How the fuck is... I can't take it anymore. I'm tired of it. And they waste so much time. A fucking UFC show is like 8 hours long, dog.
Yeah.
If you watch the early prelims to the
Well,
end,
and that's what's funny too, is like
what
if
the hell?
they have that long ass broadcast, and going into the fight, there is no information on the guys before the fight. They're telling you during the fight.
Mhm.
It's like, did you really have to plug fucking all this bullshit before? Like, what? Like, this is what they do is like, instead of going like, let's say they had some little snippets about the guys going into the fight, like before. Instead, what they do is they tell you a fun fact while they're walking into the octagon, and then they show next week's card up, and they just read off the names, and they're like, "Yep, that's next week's card, and it'll also be on ESPN Plus." All right, let's get back to the fight where this guy who's coming in, he's been fighting in MMA for 26 years, and he's finally made it to the UFC, and it's like, wow. That would have been great to know, fucking a week ago. So I maybe could have looked this guy up, seeing maybe
had some
his
anticipation for the bout.
But instead, it's like you tell him 15 minutes, like into the fight. It's like, oh, great.
Instead of explaining to me what's happening during the fight, because even all these years of watching MMA, I don't know every guy. I don't practice jujitsu in my spare time. I don't know all the fucking shit.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, let alone people with less experience watching than you and I, and there's just nothing. There's nothing there. So the commentary was way better on BKFC. Dude, the fights overall, I'm sorry, they're just more exciting. They just are.
And that's what sucks is that was UFC talent that was took away from the UFC because they weren't in Mike Perry's case was given offer a better deal in the BKFC, which makes no sense to me how a organization like the BKFC could even offer Mike Perry a better deal than an organization like the UFC can. Like that just doesn't.
Mendes said the same thing.
Yeah, like how does it? It just doesn't even make any fucking sense.
Paige said the same shit too. At some point, you're like, okay, they're all lying. Because I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's bullshit." Because Chad came out and said that he made more than fucking Ngannou when he adds all this shit up on there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now I don't think that means the BKFC handed him a $500,000 check. But I bet that
there's a lot of
incentives up with a lot of sponsors and incentives if he won and other shit.
Yeah.
I mean, but I just I don't believe all these fighters are lying.
Yeah, they can't all be lying.
So they're telling the truth when they say the pay in the UFC sucked.
Yeah.
But then they're turning around and lying when they go sign with another company and to say, no, I'm happy now, I'm getting paid a lot, now it's lies. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense. It's just hate.
Mhm.
So I think we take them at their word, you know.
Yeah, I don't necessarily
UFC
know.
clearly don't care about their fighters. Like, is that even
Yeah.
an argument
No,
anymore?
it's not even. We'll be on that all day if we even like. Yeah, like that's just like it. There's so much shit.
And what do they do to advance the sport of MMA in general? What does the
Right.
UFC now do?
That
Like, they used to
that's the
do
thing.
things that you
If
could
anything,
say.
they just globalize it. Like that's literally all they do is they attempt to fucking take it all over the place, and that's cool and all, but like that doesn't really push it forward at the same time. It just gives like I don't know.
I'm finding it harder and harder to be a fan, and that makes me sad.
I
I
mean,
mean, the only thing that I think right now that UFC definitely like has way better than BKFC is they can put some marquee fights together if they want to.
oh yeah,
You know,
they have the
they could,
roster. That's
yeah.
the good and the bad part of their rosters. They have some of the biggest marquee guys in the world, but at the same time, when you have younger guys who are in there that necessarily shouldn't be there, you ruin some of that talent. And I feel like that's like if you look in like Bellator, that's I feel like that's always kind of been their always biggest thing that's held them back is they don't know how to nurture talent. And I feel like as of recently, the UFC's had some time, kind of a hard time nurturing some of their talent because they
Matchmaking is pretty shitty a lot of the time, right?
not even the matchmaking so
No.
shitty is like you put a guy who's so young and I'll use a guy who was on this card this weekend as an example. A guy like Joaquin Buckley. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
he's good, don't get me wrong. But he's a little fresh, like he's still evolving as
He's
a
green,
fighter.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I think he's
that
like 7-3, isn't he?
yeah, something like that.
8-2,
Something like
yeah.
that. But that kick where he freaking spinning back kicks a dude in the face and knocks him out of the knockout of the year and all that stuff on the biggest platform. Now every fight fan who watched that thinks like, okay, that guy should be fighting someone ranked next.
Right.
And
No,
it's like,
he
whoa,
really should
whoa,
not
whoa,
be.
pump the
No.
brakes there. You know, like he's good, he's an up and coming guy, but that doesn't necessarily mean next he should fight X, Y, or Z. You know what I mean? And
No.
I feel like that's kind of that same thing that happened in Bellator, like with, you know, Aaron Pico and Neiman Gracie, who lost over the weekend, and like fighters like that is you bring them in with this. Some of them have a storied background, some just come out blazing. You know what I mean? And freaking uh, put on great performances. But you have to be able if you're gonna have lower level, not even lower level, but less experienced guys in your organization, you better have a whole lot then because you're gonna have to fucking figure it out. You can't do what you did to Darren Till to these guys
No,
coming off the
no.
contender series and shit. Give them a guy who you know is down the hill, give them kind of a showcase fight, and then expect them to fight for the title next week. Like that's just not how the game works. And I feel like because of profit margins and them having to put on all these shows, that they've kind of turned the UFC into that, and that's
Yes.
also another reason why the fucking fighters they don't give a shit about them either because it's you're one of a fucking 500 we have here, and if you don't want to do it, the next guy up will do it, and that's what they've become. Before it was we put on the
Mhm.
best fights, and we'll fucking do whatever we got to do to put on the best fights. Now it's, oh, you don't want to do this? Fuck you. There's 27 other dudes in line that will take half your pay to fight for the belt.
Or even a third of your pay, and even if it's for a belt, we'll just make a new belt if you happen to own the belt that we want to fucking fight for, like they do with Ngannou.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
And everybody sees that's in the company now, and I'm just fucking sick of it, man. I mean, it's not like I'm going to quit watching the UFC. This is still the number one MMA organization on the planet. It's just it's hard to be a fan, and it's because, in my opinion, WME, because they don't care about the sport, the fighters, or the fans, they're sacrificing the future to milk the fucking cow right now. Get as much as you can right fucking now, which would lead me to believe they're gonna fucking pump as much money out of it as they can and then sell it.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, with that attitude, they're gonna damage their belts, which they've already proven that they're willing to do.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense if you're vested for the long term.
Yeah.
So they're damaging their belts. They will throw their fucking marquee fighters under a bus unless you're named Conor McGregor, and they've already shown if you're not winning and you're named Conor, even you have limits.
Yeah.
And
It's like Conor McGregor and Brock
what's
Lesnar.
the end game here?
Yeah.
You milk as much fucking cash as you can out of the
Get out of
UFC by churning as the cheap product out with the ESPN deal, and then sell it off, and then what are we left with afterwards as
Yeah.
fans?
Yeah. It's true.
A shittier fucking product than when they bought it, which is the opposite of what the Fertittas did. Love them or hate them, those motherfuckers did a lot for the sport.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, they lined their pockets along the way.
But here's the thing, though.
So what?
Them lining their pockets also had, like, they used that money they lined their pockets with to put on some of the biggest marquee fights.
Mhm.
You know, I know we're not the biggest fans of him over here, but, you know, like Daniel Cormier is a perfect example. Daniel Cormier was, you know, a guy who stepped in for the UFC a lot when Jon Jones was going through all his shit, and they paid him very handsomely for that. And there was a lot of backdoor, like he said the first time they fought Jones, that he lost the fight, but then after the fight, Dana White and the Fertittas showed up in his locker room and handed him $1 million after that.
Yeah.
And like that's the kind of shit
That's a
that
whole
just I
different
just don't
attitude.
fucking see. There's no way that happens nowadays.
no,
None of the
dude,
dudes even Conor McGregor has not even met the dude who's what's that dude's name?
Ari Flesher.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
No one's even met him. Everybody knew the Fertittas. Everybody. There was
Oh, it's
when
ridiculous,
shit would break down negotiations wise between Dana White and fighters. The Fertittas were there to mend and figure things out. Like there is no relationship like that now with WME running the company.
Dude, WME Endeavor, bottom line, is bad for the sport of mixed martial arts, and I think they're going to continue to make it worse until they eventually sell off the fucking UFC. And hopefully they don't ruin it along the way. I don't think they can kill the whole sport off. I mean, ruin the UFC.
Yeah.
We'll see. 'Cause they don't give a shit.
Yeah. At this point now. At this point. No.
Hate to end the show on a sour note, but I mean, that's about all I got for today. I mean, if we didn't make it clear earlier, BKFC's fucking $5, man.
Yeah.
Like that's the other big thing here. 75 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we have other options. You know, Bellator is doing okay. They're in kind of a how are you different spot other than the B League. PFL has gotten better, dude. I thought they were going to go under. They've gotten better. Mm-hmm. BKFC is on the rise. There's other options, and dude,
even one is starting to make their US debut. They did pretty well with the first card they had in the US. So we'll see how that goes.
The answer will be this new group that's supposedly coming.
Yeah.
This new World MMA League.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes as well.
We'll just keep our fingers crossed, man. They're supposed to give health insurance, good pay, percentage of the gate, all kinds of shit. Mm-hmm. But it's all just talk for now.
For now, yeah.
Nothing but hot air.
Yep.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Sounds good, brother. If you're brand new to the show, you can catch us everywhere you get your podcast from. You can find video on YouTube, even on a couple of radio stations. You can get all that info in one location.
SWATMA.com, where you can head over there, click the gear button, support the podcast. Also follow us on Instagram at SWATMA Podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.